We're learning a lot about the 18th century and the way things were done here in Colonial Williamsburg.
Williamsburg, Virginia became the capital of English America when they moved it away from Jamestown in 1699. It remained so until near the end of the Revolutionary War in 1780. During its heyday, it was Great Britain's most prosperous and populous colony. It was here that the likes of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin conspired the overthrow of the ruling class and plotted a revolution. After the capital was moved to Richmond, Williamsburg was a quiet college town for about 150 years. But with the Industrial Revolution and 20th century popularity of automobiles, gas stations and cheap eateries threatened to wipe out what remained of the historic buildings. It was the rector of Bruton Parish Church, Reverend Dr. W.A.R. Goodwin, who worked his tail off and eventually convinced John D. Rockefeller, Jr. to fund the preservation and reconstruction of Williamsburg.
All over Williamsburg, many of the buildings have been painstakingly reconstructed. One of the unique things about the courthouse behind me is that it's the original building. And in fact, it was right there where in June 1776, Benjamin Waller came out and proclaimed our Declaration of Independence.
Restoration began in 1926. In addition to fixing up the original buildings that remained, they used crumbling foundations, old drawings, photos, architectural plans, journals, and whatever else they could get their hands on to restore about 85% of the original colonial area.
We're here outside the courthouse. This would be the public humiliation center when they didn't find you innocent, I suppose. Good thing no one's here to throw things at me.
Presently, the restored 18th century Capitol is the largest living history museum in the world. There are over 300 acres wherein you can learn from so-called costumed interpreters the triumphs, trials, and tribulations of the period. As in colonial times, the men and women working at each craft must apprentice for a number of years, and they are truly artisans. Every reproduced brick, book, bit of clothing, weapon, and piece of furniture is made just as it would have been 250 years ago. In each of the buildings, you may ask questions of the artisans and tour guides, or just observe them going about their tasks.
Where you've hammered all the way up and around the piece once. And this is about the 11th course of hammering that I've done on this pair of cups.
Because paper is made out of old clothes, you need a community, a large community, to be able to support a paper mill.
I'm standing right now in front of the very first permanent theater in English America. There were 3 theaters here throughout different periods of time. After this one went away, another one was built elsewhere. But this is the very first theater in this country. How awesome is that?
You could even grab a stick and get a musket firing lesson. Many of the homes to walk through are at your own pace, but the Governor's Palace is a guided tour that lasts the better part of an hour. The rooms and furnishings are gorgeous, as are the grounds surrounding it. The tour is chock full of information and well worth your while. We learned, for example, that at this point in history, carpeting was becoming all the rage in wealthy homes. Green was the color that signified wealth, and the pianoforte was a controversial new instrument that some said would replace the harpsichord. You can also taste a bit of the 1700s by eating at the taverns. They offer live entertainment and old-fashioned grub like pickled watermelon rind, ham relish, and peanut soup. The clothing protection is also old-fashioned.
With our yard by yard napkin, so our clothing goes out as beautiful as when we walked in.
Being in Williamsburg near Christmas time was cold, but it enabled us to enjoy their world-famous handmade wreaths, which, incidentally, have nothing to do with colonial tradition. If you decide to go during the summer, be prepared for huge crowds and heat as though straight from the depths of hell. Give yourself at least a few days there to really enjoy the experience whenever you go. Have fun!